happening.
Maze ilikuwa ukileta Doug nani anakama.
So we have a very special time which I want Bashir to share because we're going to be doing this pretty often.
Yeah, so welcome guys to the open mic. This is the second hour of the Wind On show, and as always we always promise that we're going to have authentic real conversations, and it's going to be non-stop talk for a long 1 hour. But guess what? It's not going to be long because it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real. And today's topic is going to be the business of showbiz.
And to delve into that conversation, we have two special gentlemen in the building.
Yeah.
One gentleman is a very good friend of mine from back in the day.
Back in the damn days.
Bali. We used to drink tea together for CBD. Tulikuwa tuna budget ya 30 bob per day.
Mzinga ya
mzinga ya chai, tunakunywa chai tukiplan maneno ya the future. Unajua one of these days sasa tukifanya hii maneno execute plan. So this gentleman is a gentleman called Doug Mutai. Doug Mutai is a sharp stand-up comedian and the founder of Standup Collective and the Nairobi Laugh Bar. He's actually the Nairobi Laugh Bar is actually East Africa's only full-time comedy club. All right, hapo ndio mnapiga makofi mbaya sana huko nyumbani. After performing in Canada, he returned to Kenya to help build a thriving stand-up culture, and he's done it. He's also the co-creator of a very Kenyan sketch show and a passionate advocate for growing the creative economy through training, not just taxation. Wapi makofi ya Bwana Doug Mutai?
Nani, who wrote this thing?
It starts with a C.
Nice.
Now, also in studio, we have a very brilliant comedian and a very, very personal friend of mine who's been touring the planet.
Award-winning comedian.
Award-winning comedian.
With some respect.
He was in South Africa a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And he's done a couple of, showcase shows in theaters.
With the last one being Go Back to Somalia, which is a showcase.
Yes,
and,
ladies and gentlemen, we have Aiden Abdi live and direct in
the one and only.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's good to see you, Aiden. You're good?
I'm doing well.
Doug Mutai, uko fiti?
Niko fiti bro.
Ulipewa chai ya wageni?
Chai alinipea, wacha niseme ukweli. Nisitaki kuharibia mtu kazi, lakini nililetewa maji. Maji, but that's what I asked for. Najua ningeitisha chai ningepata.
You
asked for
whatever you have asked for, you'd have been given. How about kijana? Ulisort kijana?
Kijana walimpea maji kwanza halal. Ilikuwa unaambia by the way kabla akunywe hii maji ni halal.
I made sure to ask. It has to be halal.
Water halal. And it was halal. It was the best water.
Man, karibu sana. What have you been up to?
Holy water.
Well, what have you been up to lately, Doug? What's just to catch up with you, because I haven't seen you in a while also.
Oh yeah, true.
What's happening in your life right now, bro?
Dude, I've been busy, you know what I mean, like been doing a lot of writing and production as well. Theatrical production, writing. We have a play coming up in LD.
Oh, nice.
Vernacular, you guy.
By the way, you were recently in Eldoret to do a stand-up comedy show.
Yes, I went there to do stand-up.
It was the first time we are having an English stand-up show in Eldoret. Right? How did that go?
It went really well. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Great audience. It was small but mighty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was a good attendance. We're doing another one in July 19th with the one and only Bashir like. Yeah, bana. Hey, watu walifish karibu tupigwe. Mnakuja hapa na mjaleta kijana. Mjaleta kijana, wapi kijana wetu?
Take out the Galatians on the bill. Wapi I like it. But what kind of crowd was it? A mixed crowd?
It's typically the crowd we get here. We didn't have nothing I needed to change.
All right.
A few things obviously. I mean, but it was great. It was a good show. And we were there, and it was just one of those throwaway shows. We knew we were gonna be there. That weekend we were supposed to be there for a table read with the cast. So and then so I ended up going to stand up as a piggyback. And it worked out so well. I was like, we have to do it again.
All right.
Yeah, because the last time, because in LD people buy tickets last minute. You guys, that's the thing that I got to learn that day. Because I was like, we're canceling this show. I mean, we're only performing for 5 people, and then people just came, all of them. I was like, all right, I guess that's what it is. They haven't trusted us yet.
Douglas.
Douglas ni wetu bwana. Atuambusha No, but Doug, we're here to just learn from you today. I was telling you it's going to be a masterclass for us. You've done really well in building up a comedy club,
right,
and also an industry around comedy.
Right.
Yes, not everyone who's listening could be a stand-up comedian, but many who are listening are also, artists, or people who want to delve into art, or people who have kids. Wenye walikuwa maandamano alafu sasa warudi art. But maybe we can start with your story for the guys who are hearing from you for the first time. And Aidan, please feel free to ask a question if it pops in. Okay. How did this journey start? You went to school in Canada?
Yes, I did. I went to school in Canada for business. It was first of all, the course it's irrelevant, but
business studies.
So I actually went there for sports at first. I had enrolled for a sports course, and then nikafika huko, I didn't have all the required things to have qualifications to join that program, so I changed it to business. And then while I was doing business, I started doing athletics, and then because that's what Kenyans do when they are abroad. And then kind of but my roots were always in the creative arts. So it became one of those things where I'm in a small town, and the only thing that I can do by myself without having to put together a group of people stand up. But also that required me to travel and go to a bigger town and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I did. And
had you ever performed while here in school or something?
Like stand up?
No, just anything artistic.
My entire primary to high school life, that's all I did. I was a performer from the start.
Acting.
That's what I started with, drama, the music festival, the poetry, the stuff. I thought I was going to be a rapper. There was a time nilikuwa mpaka nikaingia studio.
Lil Mutai.
Even had the dreadlocks.
Even had dreadlocks. From Lil Mutai Instagram. But I was a singer.
Lil Mutai.
And then my friend, we used to sneak out of high school to go and record in Nakuru. And then he got suspended. Nika developed cold feet. Nikaacha. But so I did a lot of art. Like I really did. Like performing and visual arts, because I was also a painter. Right? So it was one of those things. So when I went to Lethbridge in Canada, it seemed like I can't do the art thing. I can't do the performing thing. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I was running away from it, but now I want to do it still. So comedy kind of came around as an accidental thing where it was like, oh, I could actually do this, because I never used to know how stand-up worked. I used to think it was improv. So I was like, how can you improv in front of people you don't know? So, but then when you realize, stand-up requires actually preparation, I was like, oh, wait. Because initially I thought I would prepare what I'm going to say, but I would feel like a fraud. And then I realized that's what happens. I was like, So one day I just planned, I got into, I drove to Calgary to go and perform at an open mic. It was a comedy competition. And then on the week of the show, my car broke down. So I told my friend, can I borrow your car so that I can go? And I didn't want to tell him why, because I was like, if this thing does not work out, I'm going to delete and bury it like it never happened. Then my friend finds out and is like, we are coming. And then my roommate, he told my roommate, he told everyone. So we went up there, 6 of us, and it was really good. And I never stopped. And then I just kept growing, and I kept getting more and more bigger opportunities, I guess.
I mean, Doug, you've mentioned that you had like a history in performance and all that, and I have the privilege of knowing you, and I know that your dad is, he's a pastor. Is it a pastor or a reverend or a bishop or a prophet? I don't want to offend your dad because he has mysterious powers,
You gotta be.
So a lot of artists, especially musicians, even actors, they start their first journey in acting or whatever field it is in church, like when you ask someone, they're like, I used to be in the choir, like, I used to. So do you think like your dad because your dad is also like he's a performer, he's also on stage with a mic, just doing. And
even before he did church, he was actually performing. Like in the 70s, I found out this is a part of him he tried to bury. But in the 70s, he used to put up plays and reenact the World War thing.
For real?
In the village. And I found out through his friends who went, and they told me about it. I was like, so I felt good doing it. Like it kind of vindicated me.
You felt like it's part of your heritage.
It's part of my heritage, because it's one of those things where you know, in high school umecheza sana ukaambiwa wacha hii mchezo utawacha mchezo. So I was about to watch that mchezo and then I was told about it. I was like, then I'll rebel. But if this is what rebellion is, I'll just keep doing it.
I think that it's interesting when you say, because when you wanted to go and do comedy for the first time, you're like, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to delete the videos, I'm going to bury this. Your dad used to do, you know, his acting things in 1970. Like when he said he was going to bury it, like how do you bury word of mouth?
Yeah, you know? Right? Like you have to finish, you know, you have to watch the guys who are at the show.
Everyone was there, you know.
Yeah. And he tried, but he didn't succeed because it got to me. I found out.
In high school, there's at some point, was it in high school, were you doing an impression of His Excellency?
Oh yeah, no. I started the impression of His Excellency. It was an impression of Nyambane doing His Excellency.
Oh, okay.
Because that's how I learned how to do impressions. Is watching the Ridiculous guys. So I started watching the Ridiculous. Of course, everyone watched, and then I was like, I want to do that. So I started doing what they were doing. And then over time, I actually learned to do the actual impressions without copying the guys who were doing it. So I started doing His Excellency, Daniel Moi, when I was in Primo and then high school. Then in high school, I also started doing our principals, impressions. And
were they killing it?
Yeah, they were murdering. Like I would say the first real comedy show I did that had like big laughs was a talent show in high school when I went to impersonate the principal's 1,500 kids. And then nobody was expecting. They were even almost cutting me off. But then one of the guys in my classroom, a champion, has seen me do it so many times on stage in class, because I used to do it in class. So only my form people, like Form 1 to like my Form 1 West, Form 1P, they used to know.
Wale wamekuzunguka.
Wale wamenizunguka, wale wabaya. So they knew about it. So this guy just fought till I got the spot because it was so.
He believed in you.
Sometimes that's all you need.
And
one person,
dude.
Yeah,
I remember the guy Jafro, and there was another guy called Dishan.
Shout out to Jafro and Dishan.
They dragged you met Dishan, right? Remember? So they dragged me on stage and then they told the organizers, you have to put him on. And I murdered. I killed it so much. 1,500 people laughing. It was the best feeling ever. But I still didn't know what that was. Like what is this? How can I bottle this into anything? So, but I did that. So I did a lot of impressions and impersonations and voices.
Cheki mara kwa mara nasema kwamba
katika jambo la Kenya.
Do you guys feel like a huge part of what comedy meant in like the early 90s and the early 2000s, especially in our local scene, was just doing impressions, right? Because it was ridiculous, and there were no like straight up like natural stand-up comedy routines. No, it was just impressions. It's not a Moi impression.
Sketches,
it's a Kibaki impression. It's a skits. Stand-up was when would you say stand-up, like the stand-up, like actual stand-up started in this country?
Me, I'd say it's Churchill. Because what happened is, what used to work a lot for the longest time in our ecosystem, and that's what works with people, is the recognition. So impressions really do well because of recognitions. So for a long time, Kenyan comedy was skits. That's what people even thought stand-up was. There were skits of sketches and skits. So Churchill took specific characters in skits. I don't know whether intentionally or unintentionally, but indirectly trained the audience to understand stand-up, because now you have like a Hamo doing one character as a stand-up. So recognizable character and doing stand-up. That kind of becomes a thing that trained the audience. But yeah, you're right. For the longest time, sketches has been here since the 50s. Even the wearing dresses and stuff like that.
You remember these guys called Nyeges?
Nyeges, I remember them. I never saw them, but I heard about them. That's what they used to do.
These were dresses.
Your age is showing.
Me and Eden are looking at it.
Who are these guys? How old are you?
The Kipangas, the ones from the 80s and 50s even. All the way back to the 50s.
There's a gentleman who used to do stand-up, but I've forgotten his name.
Steve Maturi.
There was one. There was a guy. There was a guy before Churchill who used to do a form of stand-up comedy. But I don't want to say it without checking my references. There also these guys, all these guys, Mama Kayai or Joang. I think the form of, maybe it wasn't stand-up, but it was
still comedy.
With all those sound effects.
A lot of lots of improv.
It was sitcom. Did you think?
Yeah, it was a sitcom.
It was sitcom with no post-production budget. So they used to do the sound effects.
And they do improv. Those are improv things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like that's opening a door.
Opening a door.
Like, Emmanuel, what were you opening? Because I was looking at you. I'm like, what is happening? Are you having a stroke?
And then there was also Ojoang Atari. That was part of his name.
Oh my God, yes. Ojoang was amazing.
Mama
Kayai and them.
Yeah, Mama Kayai. There was a lady in Mama Kayai who never used to laugh. She never used to break character. The lady in Vioja,
the judge.
Yes.
Oh my God.
She never
committing to character.
She never used to laugh.
Shows it was straight man.
Deadpan.
It was. I feel like the shows we had back then. They figured out how to do so much with so little. Because you look at Vioja Mahakamani, and they just had one set.
Yep.
The courtroom set.
Yeah.
That was everything. So the judge is seated right there. The plaintiff is here. Defendants are here. Whatever. The lawyers are there, and the witnesses are here. So it's like. It's one shot. I think it was one shot, wide angle, and they were taking everything. So just one set, as opposed to now for you to come up with like a concept show, like a sketch show. The production budget you need is massive. So I think we can learn a thing or two from
But I think for them having just limited one shot, one venue, it forces them now to work so much on their writing.
Yes.
Because when you have unlimited resources for production and setting and all that, your writing will take a hit because why should I strive to write this joke to fit this name if I can just pay for it? So I think that's why their writing was that good.
Those tight.
So you're saying we need more. I'm sorry. We need more.
We need less quality.
More writing.
More writing.
And less drone shots.
Yeah.
The show is streaming live, right?
Yeah. Actually, just to remind guys, if you're listening to us, remember that we're streaming live on all platforms. That's TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook. And the handle on TikTok, Instagram, and X is Radio Gen KE. Facebook is Radio Generation. And also our live stream at www.rgk.co.ke is running.
So, Doug, back to you when you got to the place where you're going to perform stand-up. What happened next?
Oh, dude, I went.
Your show go well?
It went well. Yeah, it went really well. It turns out it was a comedy contest. It wasn't an open mic. I didn't know the difference.
That's in which city?
Calgary.
Is comedy really developed in Canada?
Yeah, quite a bit. Not as much as America, but they're doing really well. Even though Canadian comedians won't agree with me right now, they keep saying, "Oh, we want to go to America," but I think it's way more developed than we have, obviously, by far, and it is developed even for their own thing.
So could the comics there make a living out of the craft?
Absolutely. There was a few people who did. That I knew did, and they still do. But it's just like every other craft, right? Like it's difficult. The only problem they have is they have some sort of I don't know if I would call it a brain drain to the Americas, because not to the US, because the US is so accessible to them.
Yeah.
So the guys, whenever you reach a certain threshold on the States, if you don't go to the States, you're remaining here and nothing. You've reached the ceiling. But I feel like that is not even their responsibility. That should be the responsibility of investment and other people. But even then, those who remain at the top, they're doing relatively well. When I remember what I recall, and when I was there, I was doing well. I was one of the lower tier comics. I was a young comic, right? And I was already paying some of my bills. No, I was an open already.
Okay.
I was touring with a lot of headliners.
How long did it take you to get to that level where you're an opener?
It took me didn't take me too long. I was very lucky.
Okay, you're a natural, eh?
I was very lucky. Yeah, I don't know.
This guy is being humble.
Yeah.
I was very lucky.
Oh, you need it for me. It was a lot of luck and 1 of 2, 3. Na ile kusema kweli mara kwa mara mimi nasema kama uko na bahati ama hauna shauri yako utaandika bila kulipwa, lakini hiyo ni maendeleo.
Why do we have 2 more in the studio? Moja, kidole ni moja, tingiza kidole agane. But I think you guys bring up a good point. Whenever you give a Kenyan praises, wanakuanga na tabia ya kukataa sifa. Hata tu staki. No, surely.
But what happened, the reason I said it was luck was I got selected to perform at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. I think that would have been my second 2.5 years in. I've been doing this. So one showcase came to town, and you know me, I was just immersing myself in the game. Like I wasn't going half. I was just like I was in every open mic, everything. And so when I got selected to do it, it was a big deal because everyone wanted to do it. Headliners do it, and they were like, "Yo, kid, you should be grateful. You should don't take it for granted." So I didn't, and that kind of snowballed into now getting more opportunities and getting signed to Yucks and being put on a tour circuit.
Okay.
Which was right now, of course, there was a lot of guys would be complaining, but when you think about it, even as a young comic, it was an amazing opportunity for me to be able to do all these stages with minimal lobbying. It's like you have an agent and they'll do all the work for you.
Were there many African people or black people on the scene?
No, there wasn't a lot. Like where I was, it was me and there was another guy. What's his name? Ben. I think it was Ben. Yeah, he was Calgarian. Then another lady friend who was starting out, and then other guys were amateurs starting out. And then on the other side, on the East Coast, it was Arthur Simeon.
Okay.
And there wasn't a lot of black people doing this. No, there wasn't a lot of Africans doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. For Africans, it was just the two of us, as far as I can recall back then. I'm sure there were other guys who started after me, but I didn't know them.
When you say you were the only black person or the only African person there, whenever I see like stand-up comedians who've come from Africa, especially, like there's someone like Michael Blackson, like you're either forced into a certain trope. Like you have to sort of like, did you ever feel that pressure because someone will tell you, you're missing out on an opportunity, you're African, you're black, so you just speak that that fake
to play the clown, the character, character. No, I didn't feel that pressure because I was also in a very wholesome scene where everyone, it seemed to me, they respected the craft enough that what they actually respected was the fact that I was not resorting to those hacks to get ahead faster. Because yes, I mean, dude, for all intents and purposes, Michael Blackson is still more successful than I am, right? And even if you measure, if by then he had been doing it for 5 years, even if you measure my 5 years and Michael Blackson's 5 years, he's way ahead of me, right? So it's like, okay, so that worked because that's the dominant image that people had of black people, and they could contextualize that easier. The mass market could contextualize that. For me, it was a bit harder, obviously, to penetrate the market in that way because it's like, who is this?
Oh but shout out to you. Shout out to you.
But I got a lot of grace. Like I got a lot of people welcoming. Like it's not like I was struggling with anything. Like getting in. People, the scene was welcoming. They allowed me to be who I am. Because remember, when you are an Arthur person, like an outsider, people see you as an outsider. To you are normal. Like I feel white. I feel like I sound like that guy who's speaking like this. I feel like I was David Masharia. What I mean? But like the idea was, I'm not aware of my Arthurness. Of course, you have to be. There's an awareness you have to have it. But there's also like you cannot be aware of it, so that's what is constantly weighing down on you. I was just a normal person trying to figure out life, and figure out my career as it is, and that's what it was.
So you reached the point where you headed back to the 254 man.
I did. The good old visa. Good old visa expired, bro. In fact, one of the things that I did was I had to quit my job. Even though I had an open work permit, I had to quit my job to do comedy because comedy made more sense at that point in time. And I'm it's one of the things I had to do. And it was a quick decision for me. It was even, again, not being aware of the privilege I don't have. I'm not a citizen here. Me, I'm just immersed and everybody is welcoming and we're friends. So I'm fine. I don't realize I have another set of considerations to have to be like, hey, you should also consider doing this. You should consider getting your citizenship first or something. It didn't occur to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, I have a work permit. I'll just work with it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And what happened eventually was I could not use the job that I had to apply for permanent residence or apply for work permit extension because I don't have a job. And then, because being a performer, you're a self-employed person.
Yeah.
So then I would have needed a different class of work permit to actually do that. And now in this case, I don't have, it requires a lot more. It's going to take 2 to 5 years to get that, so it just, I was like, I'll just like, I'll figure it out when I come home.
Yeah.
So that was the idea. I was like, let me go home, figure it out, because at that point it's gone to a point where even my papers has expired.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let me just go back to Kenya, because I was told you just go and reapply and come back. You know, and I forgot I'm not from England, where you can just go to the border and turn around and come back. I came back home, and frankly, it had been such a stressful thing, the whole trying to regularize my papers, that it was such a relief when I got back home. I was happy to just stick around and be lazy and not go back to the website for a while.
Did you feel like your stand-up is dead, like when you were heading back home?
Bro, yeah.
Ama ulisema utakuja upige moi.
Nipige chache.
Cheki nikirudi.
Nakuja na jambo moja ama mbili. Nikikuja nataka kusema kwamba kitanda toka, kitanda rudi. No. I didn't feel like my I don't know if it's the delusion of it. I mean, you guys, we used to sit and talk about comedy like it's alive.
Yeah.
Bro, we would sit for hours, bro, talk about comedy like it's happening. Like it was real to us.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the delusion that kept driving me. Because I was like, I tried out Churchill. I did a show. And I was like, this is not it. This is not, to me, I was like, they don't know what they're doing. They're not doing what I know. What I know should be done.
What's familiar to you?
Yeah, it's not even what familiar. It's for me, I was like, this is not what I know should be done.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll do something else. And then we started talking with Emmanuel, and I was like, I'm interested in starting things. And then there was a few times that Titus would and Brian Onjoro.
Titus is your brother, right?
Yeah, they
Brian
did something
Onjoro
at the Creatives Garage.
Yeah, Brian Onjoro is also another dope comedian.
Yeah. That's around 2013. So they put up a show at the Creatives Garage, and I'd go there and do stuff. And I was like, this is more like it. And then I realized, maybe it'll take some building to do. And then I took a sabbatical for like almost a year, almost 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and then we started getting going. We started now with the Nairobi Comedy Club, Karura Comedy, and then Standup came later as well.
So I have a question. Okay, obviously I have a question.
Yes.
Nafanya nini hapa?
I've never seen someone introduce a question.
Listen, what I'm going to say is a question.
Yeah.
It's considered a question which requires a response.
You guys are going to be shocked, but believe it or not.
It requires a response that is very related to what was said.
Go ahead, Mr. Obvious.
So at this point, when you're now trying to put together shows, had you thought of Stand-Up Collective being a business? Had you thought of it as a source of income? Or it was just something you're doing as you're just doing other things to sort out your life?
Okay, so what I knew was I had thought about it as I knew it was going to be a business. Yes, I was aware that it was going to need to be a business. But before the business, because it would have been easier to just promote shows, right? But before the business, I realized there was going to be some community building required to build skill. Because otherwise we'd have just ended up doing the same thing where people are coming and doing the bare minimum, and we just say, yeah, that was the show. And so I was like, okay, so the idea is let's start by building the ecosystem first. A bunch of comedians, they're going to join at different times. So most of them are going to be, it's going to be different tiers of comedians coming on.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's going to transfer, it's going to change and become a business once the nini is big enough, like the ecosystem, the pool is big enough. So it's like, remember that analogy you used to tell guys, okay, it's like we're trying to build a dam.
Okay.
So you can't keep drawing at Kidimbwe. And what I felt was like promoting a show is just Kidimbwe. Kutoa tu kwa Kidimbwe. And so it was like, all right, let's build it with the comics, let's start with just having a community of guys.
Yeah.
So the first step was consistency. Let's make sure we have a show every month, come what may.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2 people, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 100 people, we're going to have a show every month.
Yeah.
Whether
That's
there's
what
COVID
Whether it's COVID in kidney or in bikini.
We must be seen.
We must be seen.
Yeah.
So that's how we started at the Blues restaurant. Oh no, so because the first shows that was done by Karura, if I don't mind me sharing that story, and Nairobi Comedy Club, there was at Karura it was at Karura Coffee House.
Yeah.
That's the origin of Karura Comedy Club. You guys know that?
No.
No. So the founder of Karura Comedy Club said, I'm gonna keep that name. And and then that was actually one of the points that I was just like, dude, we have to. For me, I was like, I want a neutral name. And then we started with Karura, and then there was also Nairobi Comedy Club, and they would do shows. Nairobi Brio would do a show once every 6 months, once every 3 months, and every single time it was a different group of people.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, these are not the same guys, so there's no learnings from the previous shows. It means they gave up. So eventually, and then I realized, Brian was not gonna do it. I was like, the way I thought we should do it. I was like, you know what? Actually, Mamito is the one who said something that was very profound at that point, because she was like, I'm tired of saying Dan should. Because they used to have this thing with comedians saying Churchill should do this. Churchill. It's like, instead of saying so and so should do it, why don't you just do it? So that's kind of how we start. I thought, I was like, I'm with that logic. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna promote a show. We're gonna have this collective of people. I'm gonna promote a show once a month. You do a show once a month, you do a show once a month. And for different reasons, not everyone was able to do the once a month show. But so on my side, I was able to hold on to the once a month show for extended period of time, which I felt like now helped me get that rhythm. And I understand a lot about what I was doing, about the failures, what is failing. But all along, I made sure the same guys came back. The same comedians who were here last month, they are here again this month. And then they're learning, and then they're getting invested in this potential.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we started now. So now at that point is when you start thinking, okay, how is it going to look like? How is it going to become a sustainable enterprise?
Yeah.
And that was a difficult question to answer for a long time. I just knew at some point it was going to be, but I wasn't sure how. But one of the other ways we had talked about, and I wanted to do, because remember, I wanted to actually open a comedy club immediately. Then I realized in the absence of local talent, it was going to be dangerous. It was going to be a dangerous venture. So I nikatuliza boli, and then we just started by building the community first. Getting even a community of fans, like lovers of comedy, who just consume it, not necessarily perform, was one of the other things that we did, and that kind of expanded.
Because those fans are like your initial seed capital to go and spread the word.
They are the early of initial original sponsors.
Okay.
They are the original sponsors, because those guys would pay. And the good thing about it, remember, the shows were good. You have 10 people, but the quality of the show is good. So there's no question about the product. And we were sure.
Do you feel like you took time to build the community first? In a way, helped build the capacity of the local acts.
Absolutely, that was the intention.
Because we had, I think yourself and Emmanuel, you guys were the first
established
gen
guys,
of comedians. Then we had the second gen of comics. I think that's when you guys started doing the blues open mic workshop.
After a few months
of running,
was it your idea, or was it Omara or someone? No, it was even before Mara, where we decided we're going to do Monday open mics. So it's like comics, so just come and hang out and help each other write.
But it was so interesting to find out how many people want to do comedy. Like the style of comedy that we're doing. Like guys would just show up. I remember once we were doing some show in Westlands, and there's a comedian called Murumba, for the sake of the listeners, who just showed up. I'm like, yo, man.
I remember that day.
So they just kept trickling in, you know? And then there's another day I was in Tao, there was some homeless guy called Bashir.
Followed you.
Please take me. He's looking for blues, no happy.
Take it, kupea mbao.
Something for your life. I'll teach you how to fish.
I'll not give you the fish.
To be fair, I understand where the misunderstanding came from, and I still have that picture of my first time on stage, and I did look homeless.
You look homeless. But it was so gratifying meeting all these guys.
Yes.
You know, because it's like, I remember one of the other things that used to drive me crazy was the occasional news article of saying, Kenyan, this is not comedy. Kenyan comedy, hakuna comedy Kenya like you'd. It would be like the Owas, the Kenya, I don't know if the journalists of then and the bloggers, they'd write a think piece about Kenyan comedy, and they would talk like, those people don't exist. People with that capacity don't exist here.
Yeah.
So for me, the idea that you're finding, the idea when you meet other comics and it's like, this is just my tribe.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the most gratifying things that used to happen, where you meet a new guy and you're like, this one is a real one. Like he's and it still happens to date. You get new kids coming in and you're like,
Me have even lost track.
yeah,
It's so accessible. The scene is so accessible.
Yeah.
Because when I was coming up, Churchill was still going on. Churchill was still happening. But it was that thing of that's not my sound. No, that's not my sound. Then I came across the English stand-up scene. I was like, alright, that's my sound now. That's me, right?
Yeah.
I think the same thing with Murumba and Bash.
Yeah.
They looked you guys up and they're like, alright, Kisiangani. I want to be like Kisiangani. Look at him today.
Oh my God.
You guy, Bashir came and took a selfie with me. Cheki bro, naweza piga picha na wewe. Cheki wewe ni nani first? Haya, piga picha lakini dishi.
I've never been stigmatized for being a fan, bro.
This guy just found a way to make you feel bad.
So,
guy.
So what happened next? I remember you started putting a structure around it. You came up with. Now, did you have like a business plan? Or it was just solving problems as you go along? Because you came up with a website.
Yeah.
You built a small team.
Yeah.
Was it part of written down or well thought of thing, or you just solving problems as you're going along?
No, it was definitely thought about, written down. Like not written down, because I'm me. I'm not that organized, but the blueprint was very clear in my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we're going to need a team to do specific things, because you also are aware of your limitations. But also, I guess a bit of my business training came into play.
Yeah.
Because I was aware I'm going to need to do certain things. And one of them was, of course, when we started building the website, the social media, we did the social medias, and then now it'd be like, all right, I also need to train capacity. Because remember, the first time I tried to record my special, 2019, back then we were bootstrapping so much that I was doing most of everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened with that day was like, it was fine, I could put on a show, fine, but there was a thing that happened that crumbled me that day.
Yeah.
But that was not the point. What actually was even worse was the amount of trying to get on the same page with the production crew.
Yeah.
About how to record comedy. Because my partner, business partner Eric, he's a corporate video, he's done a lot of corporate work and he's done film.
Yeah.
And stand-up doesn't have do-overs. It's a live thing.
Yeah.
So even that awareness alone required me to be like, hey, listen, so this is going to be like, it's going to be one take. So he had to recalibrate the team, get different people to work on the recording. And even then, of course, because I what is it called? Got hair called and I bombed.
Yeah.
Means the footage I didn't put out the footage, but I'll bring it out soon.
You buried it.
I buried it.
Yeah, for the guys who are listening, bombing means
not doing
your
well.
joke does not go home.
Well, yes.
And then killing means it went well.
It went well. Yes.
And murdering means killing haraka sana.
Yeah. Expeditiously. En masse.
Serikali labda wanashangaa.
What is happening? Bombing, murdering.
Cheki, umesikia hiyo station, hiyo radio generation.
Ni terrorist.
Tuma mtu hapo haraka.
So the idea that it occurred to me, I was like, I have to start building capacity.
Yeah.
Because up till then it was just me and Titus and different people changing at the door.
Yeah.
So it's just like, all right, we're gonna need people who can do certain things for comedy, understanding what comedy does.
Yeah.
Like, because even one of the things we struggled with even when you partner with establishments. You partner with a restaurant and they are a la carte restaurant.
Yeah.
They're used to people ordering and waiting for an hour and eating and leaving. Here you have 100 people in 2 hours. You have to deal with them and serve them. So that is also a different, mindset, state of mind. So one of the things we had to do was, I was aware that I was going to have to build a team.
Yeah.
And we started building gradually based, resources allowing. And even with volunteerism as well. There was a lot of people who volunteered. I mean, even Jack Nigeria was a volunteer. The first,
to be honest, I feel like
months.
also the time,
he was an intern,
the time comedians spent coming for shows, as they were building their craft, they were volunteering time.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's the thing too. It's like you're volunteering time and you're building your base, your arsenal. You're building yourself.
So Doug, I have a question. First of all, I've never met someone who name drops people you don't know like you. Just Jack Nanjero, Titus. I'm like, who are these guys? Who are them? But also the second question is, you mentioned that 2019 is when you try to record your special, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is the time, actually, June 10th, 2019. That was my first time on stage, and that is the first time I ever did stand up. And then fast forward a few months, COVID happened. And you remember what happened after COVID. Everything was locked down. It got to a point, you can't. There was a curfew. There was. But what do you feel about that period? Because I have my thoughts. And I feel like COVID was a blessing in disguise, because I feel like during COVID and after COVID, that is when like stand-up comedy, especially in Nairobi, really skyrocketed. What do you think about that? Am I right? I'm just...
Yeah, I think you're right on the money.
Yeah.
It's correct. Absolutely correct. COVID came and helped us become viable, because there was a lot of options prior to COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, when you spoke of comedy, it was just either Churchill or there is no comedy.
Yeah.
Right? And then COVID happened, and it's like we were some of the only few events who could do it without breaking any rules.
Yeah.
Right? Because our shows were like 50 people, 100 people. Our venues, like the biggest venue was Blues. Maybe Blues could hold, 90 or 80?
Yeah.
And
had
widely was 70.
Yeah, 70.
So it's like, all of a sudden, you have this scenario where you can operate with those numbers and you're not breaking any rules. So we were able to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then some of the first videos to go out.
Yeah.
Because remember, we used to rework our happening. So Taya name dropped.
Umeanza kufika kwa territory ambayo sasa watu wanaelewa.
Because we were sitting on a lot of content,
Yes, we were. We were sitting on a lot of content. So now when you start putting out content, people are like, this is happening here?
Yeah.
And it's weird, because to date, I still get people like, wait, you guys have been doing this here? I thought it was in the UK or I thought it was Kenyans doing comedy in America.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was so weird. So that COVID was a blessing for us in that way, because it opened the doors for more people to discover that we existed.
Yeah.
And we started working.
So let's fast forward to the Nairobi Laugh Bar. We have 9 minutes to just...
To the next link.
Yeah, to the next hour.
We've been waiting for 51 minutes.
Patient man. Let's go.
So how did the Nairobi Laugh Bar come about? Because that's a full-time comedy club?
Yes. So Nairobi Laugh Bar came about as a full-time comedy club, because it got to a point where we realized, okay, we need to now transition into that. I mean, we need to do more shows a week. Like in my mind, I'm now thinking sustainability. Now all these comedians can do shows and they're doing well. How are they going to earn a living?
Yeah.
So the best thing that can happen is, obviously, we're not going to be doing. We need to merge practice, like getting good, and also sustainability, like that idea. So Nairobi Laugh Bar became the idea, the default. Now, the idea that should have happened in 2016, I think, thereabouts, is now, it's like, now we are ready for it, because we have at least 40 homegrown talent that can sustain a club if need be.
Yeah.
We can bring other guys from outside. And also now it's the time, because we have an audience that actually knows we do this.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to start having a home for them, right?
Yeah.
And that's when we partnered up with Levels Hotel, Yon and Chemi, a very nice man, who just decided, okay, guys, come through. I love comedy. I mean, Yon is at every show.
Yeah.
He attends every single show.
True.
Yep.
So he's just like, yeah, you guys, what do you need? I was like, yeah, we need to do comedy. I was pitching the business angle, obviously. I made sure that we can make sense to him financially. And he was on board, because in any case, he was scouting for stuff to do anyways. And I convinced him to do Nairobi, do comedy, be a full-time comedy spot.
Yeah.
And I agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that our needs met at the right points at that
they
point. They aligned. So, and then we converted the whole space into a comedy club.
You started with one show a week, or it was more than one?
Actually, at the Nairobi Laugh Bar, we went instantly to 2 shows a week.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday. There's a Friday and Saturday shows.
Okay.
The Joke Machine and then the Showcase. Nairobi Laugh Bar presents.
So the Friday show was a free entry show, right?
It was a free entry show. It was an open mic. And it was
so open mic means people are still coming to practice jokes.
Yeah, people are coming to practice jokes. And then the Saturday show was a showcase. So people who have material, we give them as needed. But then it became, after a while, lots of people were like, how can we support? And we're like, we're barely making anything on this. So we started charging for Friday shows, and they helped us to kind of stay a bit more afloat. Tukatoka kwa shida kidogo. Tukatoka kwa red. Because we were running on red for a long time.
Yeah.
Really long time. Oh God, to survive.
So
now,
like,
so that one and Saturday doing well became thing, and then we kept the Wednesday for development as well.
Yeah.
And then Thursday is now the new talent show thing that's happening every 2 Thursdays.
Yeah.
And it just kind of also, it happened now naturally, because it's like, hey, you have this need. Like, hey, Johan, what are you doing on Wednesday? Oh, can we try a show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you pay for? Yeah, sure. I mean, you're delivering twice a week successfully.
Yeah.
He has no complaints on the rest of the days. So we went to the other Wednesday. We added Wednesday, and then we added the thing, and then we took Kandarasi at some point.
So were you running with profits to the bank?
No, unfortunately, right now I wouldn't.
You're in bowling.
We're
no
not.
matter what they say to me, we gonna get this money. Watch out when they come for you. Take all of your honeys.
No, and unfortunately, even right now, I wouldn't say we are swimming yet.
Yeah.
But we are okay. We are in the black. We are not in the super greens where we're like, what can we do else? But at the very least now, you're able to pay everyone off.
Yeah.
And you survive. You still
first of all, Doug, I feel like Emmanuel, that's a very sensitive question to ask, especially during this period where KRA is we're almost filing returns.
We are compliant.
You asked Doug that question, and he was like, it sounded very well. What do you mean about profit? When you look at it from a fundamental point of view, what is social concept?
But actually, I'm not in this. It's an idea, money is not real. But actually, the grants really helped. We've had grants that have really helped us. With the HIVA, the Ignite grant, and then the visibility that we did with the festival, and then the one for the British Council as well. Those ones have really helped us to stay afloat and kind of chapa yambele, like resolve problems before they happen.
But what I'm getting, and that's the reason why I brought up that question, is I feel like from
anataka 2K urgent.
I'm getting to you. Unaweza nipiga dhao hapo.
That can be the longest nani mwayo. Anyone akutadi
kwa dhao.
Najua alikuweka hadi kwa poster.
Manzejo.
For 2K urgent.
On a serious note.
Uko na dhao.
Cheki, unajua leo ni Friday na unajua weekend ni ndefu. Okay, sawa.
Uko in the red.
Yeah.
No, the reason I asked was I feel from the story you've shared, because we're talking about the business of comedy, and I feel like some of these principles can be extrapolated to many crafts, even many businesses. Right. So from what I'm hearing from you and what I've seen over the years, you need a lot of patience when you're doing this thing.
Oh, you have no idea. So much patience. And honestly, again, the delusion and the belief that it's gonna work out. Like, even as we speak, I'm not sure it's gonna work out. I don't know, but like, I think that delusion is driving me a little bit. You're staying there knowing that it might work out. It might, it's, at the very least, on a balance of probabilities, there's a chance it might work out. Because based on the successes in the past, where like you've hit a milestone. It's like when we used to have successful shows but without good numbers. You were like, all right, that means I should keep doing this because the show is successful, but nothing else is good. And then now some of those things start working out. You have a smooth team. I mean, show is happening right now. I'm here. Now it's like, all right, it might work out because all these things are falling into place. Yeah.
We are hanging in
6
studio.
years down the line.
Yeah, we're going to get more deeper into some other questions during the 9 to 10 o'clock hour.
Okay.
We are hanging out with Doug Mutai in studio. We have quite a number of people watching on X.
Yeah.
162 people watching.
Yeah.
Sanitize. What's
Santanize.
So shout out to everyone who's watching. Remember to like our page on Radio Generation. We're going to be doing this every single day right here on the Wind Down.
Yeah.
Bashir, how's it looking on your end?
Yeah, I'm here on YouTube. We have 12 people watching the live,
nice,
man. The comments
nice.
are going crazy. Watching from Madaraka.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, so
Madaraka.
Estate.
Shout out to the boys' village. I love Madaraka.
Yeah, so I think we're going to come back and do the feedback and the comments and all that. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for being here, honestly, Doug. I mean, you are the person who groomed me. Pause.
Hey,
you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
But I mean, you know, I was under you. Pause. But you know, like, I don't know how I can't say
You don't get two pauses in one sentence.
I appreciate that, Bashir, because sometimes you take it for granted, so you have to take.
No, just finish, but we're almost done. No, but Doug, hold that thought.
Pause.
I'm hanging out with Doug Mutai and Aiden Abdi, brilliant stand-up comedians. If you have questions for them, please use that hashtag #TheWindDown, and they will fikia us directly. But remember, don't touch that dial. The conversation is continuing all the way till 10 o'clock. We'll be back.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.